Okay, so we've got a few questions that we're going to cover. If you'd like to ask us the questions that you've got there.
I'm in social housing. How would that affect me, please?
Okay, so the social housing element is you're actually exercising your right to shelter. And because all of our rights have been implied to be accepted to have commerce committed upon them by us using the legal fiction, we are actually buying our rights back then as a privilege or as a benefit. Now, any amount of the rent that, let's say your rent is £1,000 a month, for example, your credit file is actually being laundered 10,000 times that amount by the private corporation for the administrative fees of giving you the right of shelter. So what actually happens now, we're the secured party creditors to HM government. They've got a 10 quadrillion slave token worth of debt that we've lodged against them. And let's say your lifetime lease, if you had one of them, or a tenancy agreement, we would value that with Big Blue Asset Management. Let's say it was worth 1 million slave tokens and be really generous there to them. We would accept, so you've created your trust first, you assign your consent back to yourself, you create your trust, and you assign that tenancy agreement into your trust. That amount then is discharged, let's say it's 1 million slave tokens, and we knock off 1 million slave tokens off the overall outstanding debt held by HM government, because it was them that created these little shop fronts, let's call them, these legal entities, such as the private corporate council or the housing association, so that they could commit commerce upon your right to shelter. So we would say to you, okay, thank you very much for the assignment of your consent to act as the secured party creditor using your right of use, which has been valued at 1,000, 1 million, 100,000 slave tokens worth of kindness credits. We have, as like the official receivers would do, we've knocked off that. We've used your right of use of that property, knocked off 1 million slave tokens off the 10 quadrillion that is owed to the people by HM government, and you've just become the secured party creditor instead of the unsecured creditor of HM government.
I get the secured creditor. Thank you. What would happen with the housing association? Would they still get their money?
The housing association is a legal fiction that is secured by us, and what they've actually been getting you to do is claim against yourself. So imagine 2 cars on a drive and you're insured in both cars. Can you smash one car into the other and claim?
No.
No, it's fraud. So what they've got you doing is they've got you to assign your rights to the legal fiction that is theirs, and then buy them back as a privilege. So the housing association is a laundering facility for them to be able to launder not just once but twice, once from your share of the planet's resources and the dividends that come from that into the trust, into Crown Corporation's so-called trust, and then down which corporation, local authority is supposed to be the administrator of your estate, wherever that is that you've got that council tax obligation to. And the housing association is acting as a revolving credit facility to launder your right of use through there. So all of that is finished, all of it, all of the implied commerce being committed upon people's rights is finished. Now, what we have to do now is settle the debt that we, in our indebted mindset, have created. And nobody else can do that except us, because it's our debt. We've seen that the government, who said that they were going to stand surety to us to discharge our liabilities of existing in the commercial system, have done. And so we've removed and assigned our consent, our credit, our share of the planet's resources, all stocks, bonds, dividends, or legal fictions titles, into our own trust, and we are discharging the liabilities that our incapacitated mind created before now. So what the Housing Association would get is a document of an acknowledge of settlement of the debt that has been created up until now by HM government and the unsecured creditors thereof of that granted the assignment of consent to the Housing Association to administer, add to the administration of your estate that the Crown Corporation once had. So they would get a receipt to say thank you to your secured party creditor. Where is your assignment of consent? Where is your authority to act? The creditor, secured party creditor of HM government, has assigned their consent to us, and all debts are hereby discharged against the 10 quadrillion. So until 10 quadrillion, which has got a 1% interest every day, just like they did, that they're never going to be able to discharge. Until that's all discharged, then don't come to any of our creditors until that account is zero.
So I mean, these housing associations don't know what's going on. This is a charity that...
Okay, let me stop you there. They do know what's going on. Even Companies House know what's going on. I don't know whether you've seen what happened over the last few days. I've always said that we're never going to get a receipt from these people to say, yes, it's true, you are the secured party creditors, and that has got any standing. And lo and behold, we did. Companies House recognised with UK government, or Government UK Limited, or whatever they want to call themselves, in these revolving credit facility accounts that they've created for themselves at Companies House, was going to have itself struck off. Now, that meant that everything that was held or implied to be held as asset by not just the company, because obviously it's a dormant company showing no asset, but everything in the background that is the directors and the people of significant control. And the fact that it was recorded inside the Companies House, which is a register that is secured by us as collateral in this debt equity swap. They sent us back a notice saying, yes, okay, we've accepted the evidence that you've supplied to us, and the striking off has been suspended for another 6 months. Now, if that had been allowed to go ahead, you would have been again bona vacanta, vacant bones, unclaimed estate belonging to the Vatican again. So they get a receipt. These private, these corporations are legal fictions, and they only exist in your mind. You've got a right to shelter. We have, really what we've done is we're using the right of use, giving it a value, and saying that that value has offset any debt, any claim, or any charge that is being claimed against you as the creditor. But if you use that legal fiction without all your rights reserved, then you would again back as a liability holder in due course and inheriting all of the debts that are associated with that legal fiction.
Yeah, thank you. Can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
If my fictional name has been used to get the tenancy in the first place, which I'm in at the moment, that means if I don't use that fictional name, the tenancy, does it mean the tenancy is effectively not mine?
It's not yours. It belongs to the Crown Corporation, because you are actually in adverse possession of that property at the moment.
Yeah. So how could I,
Right, okay, there's two things in place here. A legal title, the legal title is the legal fiction, and the legal fiction has been used to create a fictional tenancy agreement for the legal fiction that has no body, that doesn't require a right of shelter, to imply that it is you who is the legal fiction exercising its right to shelter. So you are crediting a legal fiction system. And what you have got is a right to shelter. So you
but
are...
not this one. Sorry, but not this one in particular. Like, so if someone was to say go through this process, they would have a right to shelter, but they may lose the tenancy on that particular property.
No,
yes.
no.
Ah. Okay.
Okay, let's start again. You have
No, it's okay. You don't need to. I think I get it now. I was just making sure. I was just checking. There is a process that you go through to ensure that you remain in the property,
yes, because
and you've just explained it.
I
Yes.
haven't quite finished.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, it's the right of use of the thing that has the legal value, not the thing itself. So it's not the tenancy that's got the legal value, it's the right of use of the actual right, which is my right to shelter, that has the legal value, and it is that they're capitalizing on.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're giving back the legal fiction that causes you to pay for something that is now a privilege instead of a right.
Okay.
Possession is 9/10 of the law. You are in possession
Yes.
of the right of use of that property, aren't you?
Yeah.
And if anybody wanted to come along and say that there were any charges incurred by you for exercising your right of use, then they would need to bring their proof of claim. So they would come along and they would say, well, there's a tenancy agreement there, and there is an outstanding debt because somebody hasn't paid what it was with their tenancy agreement. Okay, let's have a look at the tenancy agreement. Was it created in fraud? Yes. Why was it created in fraud? Because you coerced me to use a legal fiction that wasn't mine, first point. Because you
Yeah.
were implying that you had some jurisdiction in this matter to rent me back my right of use, second point. The third point is that my trust is a secured party creditor, and you are now asking me to claim against myself, which is triple fraud.
Yeah.
So we want them to take us to court, and that's why the courts are closed, because they can't. This securitization of this legal system has been in place now since the 25th of February this year, and that's why you've all got coronavirus. Because we are the virus that brought down the Crown Corporation by pulling out our belief of that legal system and saying we don't credit it anymore. So they had to create another pot to launder your belief through, which is stumped up by Bill Gates, hedging his bets, covering the indemnity of these pretend governments to keep them in place, to control the masses so that they can launder the pot of belief that Bill Gates is then going to fund. As long as everything's written off as coronavirus, the government can go to that pot and the so-called financial system can still continue because that's where it's making its money now, laundering that belief that, you know, my business is shut down, so I can claim against my national insurance account, my birth certificate, my trust account to actually pay myself to not even open my business anymore. But as long as it's written off as coronavirus, the indemnity cover that Bill Gates has stumped up, that will pay down and cover all of this liability. So because he knows that he's going to turn around and make a big fat profit in the end in his ledger books, because that's all it is, by enforcing the vaccines on you all. That are then linked to the Microsoft with the biohacks and the 5G chip that are linked to Nasara and Jasara and the Icon Capital Group. So bang, off you go again. But this time with your DNA. You are signing your consent of your DNA, your very being, back into their system to buy back your rights again as a privilege through a chip.
Yeah. Yep.
So the other question was, can you have 2 feet, 1 foot in both camps?
Yeah.
The answer is no, you can't. But what you can do is you can facilitate the transition of these businesses into becoming private enterprises, if you like. I like the word private affair. It's a private affair. I have my own currency, which means that I am no longer obliged to perform under any contractual obligations of using their slave token, paper, system, mechanism, definitions in my exchanges. It means that you are obviously not obliged to perform under the legislation, acts and statutes that are only applicable to those legal fictions that are copyrighted by Crown Corporation or HM government. And so when we're talking about doing a transition, what you're doing is you're helping these businesses become a private affair so that nobody in the end needs to use any token at all, like we talked about just before we started to record this. Because really there should be no token needed at all. Everybody puts their 5 hours in, so we will help these businesses discharge all of their liabilities in return for, let's say, 5 hours of their time or product or service or supplies. They put that in the pot. Now, normally, if a business has got £1,000 worth of overheads a month or 2,000, whatever it is, before they even start to take any money home for themselves in tax and national insurance and all of those charges, council tax, electricity, water rates, all of those things, all of that is discharged by their 5 hours. So instead of them having to work 55 hours a week for 4 weeks a month to cover that 1,000 slave tokens, let's say, of charges, they only have to put 5 hours in the pot and it's done. The other 50 hours that they were putting in now is all energy back in their pot, back in their hand. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Right.
it does. If we could
So,
go a little bit further, if that's okay with you, into the social enterprise and the non-profit sector and how they.
sorry, you broke up at the beginning of the question.
If we could go a little bit further into the social enterprise and the non-profit sector, how would they manage this?
Exactly the same process. They're non-profit, social enterprise, charities, all of those things. They're just another mechanism, another legal entity that has got different definitions attached to it. That's all. Look at it like a chessboard. A social, not-for-profit can do certain things. A charity can do certain things. What
Yes.
we're actually doing is we're still capitalizing on the currency of kindness.
How would people be able to differentiate between the private and the public? These companies that are trading for themselves or their families privately, or companies that are actually providing a service to the community and they are there only for the community. How would you suggest that could be?
Okay, well, let's go back to the answer to the question. You cannot no longer presume to commit capitalism upon our resources or rights. So the share of this planet, this rock, is reserved to use it right, and to commit capitalism or make profit on any of it is now forbidden. You cannot do it. And why can't you do it? Because it's secured. For capitalizing and making profit on something that isn't ours in the first place, is what breaks universal law. So under the universal law is the jurisdiction of this rock now, and everything is not for profit. So all enterprises, all private affairs, and that you don't need to make profit if you haven't got any liabilities to cover, do you?
It's just about sustainability, and that is possible in a new environment and
the planet can sustain billions and billions and billions of us very, very well. But unfortunately, we have been prevented from going and planting a seed in the ground that's, the garden next door to us or on the common land, because somebody came along and put a fence around it, or even an imaginary fence, and said, that's mine. And who did that? Was the Vatican. So by eradicating that belief mechanism of that hierarchy system that somehow has got some kind of claim, nobody can make a claim, because you don't need to claim anything anymore, because you have your rights back in your hands. That's what that rock means. When I put a rock in your hand, I am giving you a share of my rights to access whatever it is that you need. And I will stand surety to that through thick and thin, so that you can practice and exercise your rights without anybody trespassing on them. And that's my 5 hours to you, and that's what I train other people to do. So ideally, in your situation, to be able to, if you've got these connections here, to bring these businesses into let's call it a forum or a platform where they, first of all, discharge their own libelous minds, that they think that they need to make profit. We create, instead for with them, let's say they're a security company or an electricity generating company. Let's look at what it is that you are actually, the actual cost of your business. We're not looking at pounds now or dollars or euros. We're looking at the actual cost to the planet. Is there a better way for you to be able to provide your product and service of using the planet right? We all have a right of use of it. Let's teach one another how to use it right. Here is the community who is your target market anyway. And they don't want plastic shit, GMO food or pharmaceuticals or petrochemicals anymore. They're driving the market, and so now you need to adapt to energy created from water. You need to look at investing your energy now in growing hemp, not the GMO kind I'm talking about, creating polymers. Everything that is plastic can be created from nature. We've got natural remedies instead of pharmaceuticals, which we all know about. And so if we as a community turn around to these people, because that's all they are that create these companies, and say, we're not buying your shit anymore. We use a currency of kindness that you can't, that means that we can't invest in you with slave tokens anymore, because we just don't accept them in our own exchanges. So we put them in a pot over there and we don't want to use them. But at this transition point, we know that there is this lingering belief that creates this Slaveville community that want to see something backed by the same definition that they've got the value of, be it gold, silver. They don't actually realize that you're looking at the rock. Where's the gold come from? The rock. Where's the oil come from? The rock. Where does the silver come from? The rock. Where does the food come from? The rock, the water, all of that. The whole banking, and if you've done what you said about your business and degree, it never taught you that. It never actually said to you that this financial system is built from the commodities of the dividends of the share of this rock. Because we would have all been going, actually, okay, it's all split into these commodities, and I'm going to invest in shares in this and shares in that, and I'm going to buy some of this, and I'm going to, money's going down the pan, so I'm going to buy some gold. You can't eat gold, and it's not yours. Who have you bought it off? Because we haven't, as the secured party creditors of this rock, we haven't assigned the consent of any of it, the sale of any of it. So when you get into the situation where, you know, these companies think that they own something, the only people that they're kidding is themselves. So we have to help them make that transition in their own minds first. What is it that I'm investing and crediting my energy into? What is it that I want to create as a reality? Because look what we've done all around us by investing and crediting illegal fiction and slave tokens and putting our value to that. Look at the you know, the reality that we've created, and homelessness, and I don't need to bang on about that, and I won't, because it's that, you know, we've just created that through our incapacitated mind. So what I actually do is I run a course for people who are in business, or people who want to exchange their business, because at the moment you haven't got a business, have you? Coronavirus has shut it down. Who's the coronavirus? We are. We shut your businesses down because you were destroying the planet from the way that you were creating your business. You were creating profit that caused scarcity. You were funding capitalism and calling it charity. You were supporting a hierarchy mechanism, and you were doing it through slave tokens. So shut your doors, go home, sit in your house, get in front of your laptop, listen to some truth, learn the process, discharge your own liabilities, and then start to, because you've got that space in your mind now to start to think, what the bloody hell have I been doing to start with? what is it that I have been giving value to? Because it definitely isn't kindness, love, and affection for myself, my environment, and my family. Because look what I'm leaving behind for them to inherit.
Yeah. It would be nice to go further into this, but I think maybe on a different at a different time, if that's okay with you, maybe if you have time to, I'd appreciate that. Yeah. So
does it make sense? Is what I does that make
yes,
sense to you?
all of it. Oh, of course, yes. It's in it's things you're talking the same stuff that I could see. So yeah, it's there. It's right in front of us, isn't it?
So how do you bring these businesses in now then? Let's look at that. You can go to these businesses and you can say, right, okay, at the moment you haven't got a business, have you? Because you are under the legislation that comes through you using a company name. And that doesn't matter whether it's a registered company or, you know, Bill and Bob bricklayers, or because they've used the legal fiction. So everything
So it's
comes
not theirs anyway. That's
exactly.
yeah, I got it. So one of the ideas was to create, like, you imagine an image file of something. I also studied computing, unfortunately, for some weird reason. But yeah, I think in those terms sometimes. And sometimes it's the best way to describe things to people, especially in this day and age, how we are now. So it seems to be helping. But I imagined an image file of some kind that would copy paste your company and all its mechanisms of what it does, and in effect create in a private trust exactly the same, and then create a transition period between the limited to the private, and how
Do you
the
know
trust.
what the transition is? Go on the website, put in your company name, press send, that's it, it's done. And they open up tomorrow. They open up tomorrow with a coronavirus antidote, sticker in their window, COVID clean, kindness credits in the window. We did this with a pub at the Reform Inn. We've done it with businesses here. I've been operating businesses here, and export and import. You know, for commodity codes, well, commodities, let's call them commodities, products that would have a commodity code that would have created such a massive amount of tax had we not done it this way with kindness credits. So the receipt says 3,000 litres of organic extra virgin olive oil. Rocks. How many rocks do you want, England, when it gets to France? England were like, no, don't let it in. Okay, so they ripped the van apart, dipped all the oil, and opened all the honey and everything. They couldn't find anything, obviously, that they're trying to do. They inconvenienced us for an hour, but they had to let us through because they said, right, okay, well, England said about the import tax on this, we can't let it out of here. And I said, how many rocks do they want? We paid rocks. We didn't. We did pay rocks. We gave this guy rocks and bought his oil, and then he turned it back into slave tokens, tax-free. But it wasn't black money anymore. And so but what we did is we cut out the parasites from the system, because it meant that so I sold 10,000 cups of coffee in my shop this year, and each coffee is one rock. How many rocks do you want?
So what you're saying is that there's no transition phase. There's just move.
Transition is
Just
the
move. Yeah.
That's it. We're all hovering around saying, can I, can't I, can I, can't I? And we're over here shouting, we did it, here we go, we did it, here you are, here's your olive oil, and you can exchange it. Instead of you having to go and expel, I don't know how much a litre of this olive oil is, 27 pounds in Waitrose I've seen, and it's nothing like what we've got here. And so there's no comparison to it. People can't afford that who are on benefits. I want them to be able to access this stuff. I don't need to make profit out of you because I've discharged all of my liabilities. I just want to heal you from having to go to the local supermarkets, support the Ashkenazis, the Rothschilds, whoever it is that they call themselves, and buy a second-rate product to feed you and your family with, that because that's all you can afford. Here's a bottle of olive oil that is going to heal you in ways that you've never imagined, and it's affordable. It's one kindness credit, because I haven't had to pay tax, and nor have you. And you haven't had to pay for my electricity, my gas, my water. You haven't had to pay for the guy who's given us the olive oil, his gas or water, electricity, because I've discharged it all. That's why it's only that amount instead of 27 quid.
Yeah, there'll be businesses that are still reliant on produce and trade outside of that. And I saw that your credits are, you can transfer them back again,
Yeah,
to tokens and back again, which is what I had in mind a few years ago as well, because I could see that that would be necessary, and for a period that is necessary.
yeah, but only what we did, we put one kindness credit in the pot. So we took 8 slave tokens and we put it in an account, and that showed up in another account that said one kindness credit. I then said, look, there was 10 of us on the call, and I said, right, I'm going to put this one kindness credit into your account. I want your chocolate. So I sent one kindness credit to the lady who supplies chocolate, and she sent me the chocolate. And then she's got the one kindness credit, and she exchanged it for some oil off somebody else that I'd provided the oil to. So now that's 2 kindness credits. So really that should have been 16 slave tokens in the pot, shouldn't it? But it wasn't. It was still only 8. So then that person then did an exchange with somebody else for the same, for one kindness credit. Now that's 3 exchanges, and there's still only 8 slave tokens in the pot. But we've all got what it is that we wanted, because it's not the money that you need, it's the exchange. So I was trying to teach the people, put the slave tokens in a pot over there. Here's a piece of paper that represents those slave tokens, because it's the thing that I want, not the slave tokens.
Yeah, that's just
actually exchanging. So then, and we went on 9 times, and then at that point I said, right, okay, there's a guy up the mountain and he needs some petrol, and so what we're going to do is we're going to send 8 slave tokens from the holding account to his brother's Visa wallet card, to show how easy it was to then be able to, the guy then got the fuel, he's got the 8 slave tokens with his brother, gone to the petrol station, put 8 slave tokens in his car, in his bike. Now that was 10 transactions. And what we're actually trying to show people is that's how you delete the debt, by parking the slave tokens and using an alternative currency. You only need 1%, because this is all that's been done. It's been done. Fractional reserve lending and fiat currency is done by using 1% 99 times. So all you need to do is put 1% in the pot and use a different mechanism 99 times, and you've discharged all of the debt that you would have created if you'd have moved those slave tokens 10 times.
Yep.
And it's that simple.
Yep. And the trading platform that is needed, the internet, that's my last question really, is about the future of the internet. And obviously I can see the end of what you're looking at, the goal, as everyone's just trading and we don't need the internet, right? Yeah. I get that. But in the meantime,
we don't use the internet. Okay.
In the meantime, the trading the trading platform could be messed with. Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's why we quit. We stopped doing it. We took everything off our online accounts because it was completely hijacked, and the guy who created the database locked me out of it, proving my point that you can only trust the rock in your hands. Now, when we first started doing this 5 years ago in a little shop in Ikaria, these people here, they didn't speak English, but they understood what it was that I was doing. So because they could see it, and that is how you get something going, kickstart something in your community. You open a shop, you put the uh, your products in there that people have given you in exchange for you discharging their debts and teaching them how to do it. So you go to your community and you say, right, give me whatever it is that you think that you've got to pay, and I'm going to stand surety to that. I've learned what it is that I need to know. I'm bringing business, commerce, and finance to you to exchange, to stand surety to you. And instead of you paying me with slave tokens, give me whatever it is that you create for 5 hours a week of whatever you produce. Not to me, put it in the pot, put it in the community pot. I'm putting my 5 hours in the community pot. You're my community. You can take my 5 hours out, but you put your 5 hours in. And then, so you've got your builders, your plumbers, your teachers, your farmers, your producers, your suppliers, your distributors, your logistics, your administration. You've got all of your community now lifted off the grid, off that slavery grid, and put into the private immediately just by one person doing it in the community. And so you don't even need the website. Print off some of the documents and make your own documents. Take some screenshots now while you've got them there, while you've got the facilities of the internet. Download them all onto a hard copy and print them all off so you've got the hard copy, and give them out. And let's go back to paper and books. So I teach everybody how to create their own community trust with ledger books. And you go and say to somebody, right, okay, what is it that you need? Well, I need organic food and I can't afford it. Why can't you afford it? We do financial logic. There's a financial logic document already done. There's a kindness credit flow chart already done to show how you can actually put kindness credits back into your community using the slave tokens that you've got now. So you say, right, okay, well, what is it that you need? Organic food, can't afford it because I've got all these bills. Give me your bills, and then all of that you've already got is now back in your pocket. So you can now invest in your community. Here's the supplier who supplies organic food. Wouldn't you prefer to have that instead of that shit from the supermarket? Then stand there with your mask on and pay your tax. Well, yeah. Okay, here it is, delivered to your door. If, I will do this for you if you agree to allow all of the organic food to be delivered to your house and you replace the supermarket once a week. What do you say to that? Well, I say bloody great, because I can have a party now. All of the like-minded people are going to be coming to my house, and we create a homeschool from there. All the teachers, the builders, the plumbers, the drivers, all of those people are now coming to this house instead of going to the supermarket picking up the food.
And what about the people that are not able to, for some reason, if they're disabled or elderly, they're not able to put back into the system?
Everybody's got something to give. That's a fallacy. You know, it doesn't matter how disabled you are. You know that you're priceless. You can't put a price on those people.
That's
So
true. Yeah,
a third
that's
of
very
the, a third of the share of the harvest, we use the Ubuntu standard. And let's say we've got a growing project. A third of it goes to the people who created it. A third goes into the community as their 5 hours, so that these people are discharging their liabilities with 5 hours that they're giving to the community. And 5 hours, and the third of it goes to the people who are old, infirm, or and not able to come and grow the food, for example, because that's the most important thing right now. To hell with everything else. Get to
That's
the
exactly
field.
how. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah. No, that's how I saw it too.
It's
Yeah.
the only way it is. It's the only way it can be. We've got all these farms now that are connecting. People giving their 5 hours. Where's my nearest farm? Where's my nearest growing project? We've restored land. We go to grow some food on the land. We restored hospitals. We're creating a healing centre. People are bringing their machines and their expertise and their therapies, and they're going to use the facilities that they've already got and the facilities that we have settled, let's say, as a debt equity swap against this charge.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for some really well thought out questions. It's really nice to have that.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for being there.
But anytime you want any help in facilitating this, you've got thousands and thousands of people now who are active all across England, and you don't have to tell me where you are, but if you send me an email over with a little bit more information on, I think you sent me your postcode, didn't you?
No, I didn't, but I will email you.
Okay,
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
and then we can connect you with all of the people in your area, because that's obviously something right now. People feel very isolated. There are a lot of people who are aware of what's going on, and they're not very okay with it, obviously, to varying degrees. And just by knowing that you're not out there on your own, you're not the only lunatic who thinks all of this, can be very reassuring. And once you meet these people who have done these steps, it gives you a little bit of encouragement and empowerment, and you're like, right, okay, yeah, I can see it working now. And it helps people to visualize if it's somebody there demonstrating and exemplifying what it is that we're saying.
Yes.
Lovely.
I will definitely contact you.
Lovely. Well, thank you for coming on the call tonight, and have a happy whatever it is you call it, alignment with the universe.
Thank you.
and lovely to hear from you.
I'm just wondering if there's anyone else that's got questions, or is it just me?
Well, the other people who were here, I didn't expect too many people tonight, because obviously what the night is. James has done various things. He's got free energy supplies at his property, and our other minister Emoven there has done quite a few steps and is providing osteopathy as a service, as his 5 hours, and many other things as well. And facilitates meetings and things like that down in the south. So, yeah, they haven't got that. Have you got any questions, guys?
No, just enjoying listening to what you're
Manifesting.
discussing. Yeah. I suppose, yeah, the kind of feedback you've got from what happened, what you did with HMN.
Who did? It was Minister Emoven, very, very naughty. And it's great that we've got this ability to be able to see through the bullshit, really. We'll just go over that a bit for the recording. There are many, let's call them dormant companies. These are the revolving credit facilities that we're talking about. When I found a company that was trading, I mean, there were 77,000 of them trading on my national insurance account when I looked. And that was obviously the alarm bells ringing and going, right, okay. One of them was called 2,800, I think, Gateway Drive. And this was an office, and it was renting itself out to another office, and then that office rented itself out to another office, and that office rented itself out to another office, and so on and so on and so on. So you've got a tower block of offices. That tower block of offices, virtual reality, then became another set of offices, tower block of offices, a street then, a town. The town went on to have a hospital, casino, an army base, and it went on for God knows how many pages and pages and pages. And right at the bottom, it was a legal entity identification. It was the legal entity identifier name of a company owned by Key West Holdings. It represented Key West Holdings. Now, Key West Holdings, one of the biggest investment companies, Delaware companies as well. So they invest in, what they do is they create this virtual reality state, and then with the energy, the money that's laundered through these accounts for renting. So you've got leasee, leaseor, settlee, settlor, grantor, grantee, transferee, transferor, all of these different roles, that these different positions, let's say, that these things can play. That actually creates the fiat currency, backs the fiat currency, because it's the belief. And what they're doing is, because they want to see zero, they have to see zero in those accounts, because nothing really happened here. It's virtual reality, it's commercial fiction, it's legal fiction, nothing's gone on here. So they're getting you to pay for something that wasn't theirs to charge you for in the first place, and to launder the funds that are being paid in a discharge system. They have to create these little accounts to launder that money into, so that it shows zero. So they have to create a liability to then create the funds to cover the liability. So you have to go and claim, well, this is my need for exercising my right to keep myself warm, my right to sustain myself. I need electricity. So therefore you go, you create an account as a supplier. So you grant consent to the supplier, which is actually corporate government pretending to be a corporation, selling you back your share of the electricity. Now, because you've paid slave tokens, they have to lose that somewhere. So it goes in there and it disappears as rent for an office that's renting an office, renting an office, that's renting an office, and so on and so on and so on. That actually creates the big, cities that we've got, because it actually is 2D becoming 3D. So these companies that are inside Companies House. So first of all, let's see if we can explain this. HM government is a legal fiction. Universal law is being broken by the people by claiming they are the legal fiction. So the system, the police and all of that, I had a conversation with somebody today saying the police aren't doing their job. We've put them all on notice. The police are doing their job. They are stopping you from committing fraud. They don't know that. They think that they're just prosecuting you because you haven't got a driving license, for example, or because you won't commit the fraud. So that's the trick to the truth, is that we have all been committing fraud against universal law, committing fraud on our souls, saying, here are all my rights. I am a Vatican debt slave and I'm dead. So they can then keep their conscience covered because they're actually prosecuting you and they're upholding universal law. So the Vatican and Katholiki actually means universal in Greek. So the Catholic Church tried to define universal law using Pactum Singularis Caelium, and you can all read that. It's available all over the place. And if you haven't got a copy, I can send you it as a PDF. And you can see that they've tried to diminish or define what universal law is, so that it can take the jurisdiction of it right down to a uniter of energy. So in order for them to be able to do this, they need these accounts to launder your equity through. So when we became a security party, we said, look, all of the consent has been assigned to us. You haven't got any authority to act. You haven't got the right to trespass or trade on the share of the planet and its resources that have been held by your trust up until now. They're held in our trust. And you have accepted our terms and conditions set out in our Schedule A to commence contracts and commercial intercourse with us. These are our charges, 20 million every time you try and use the name. Why? Because it's on average about 20 million every day that they actually make and disappear through these virtual real estate accounts that then turn up as this surety that creates the backing for the so-called businesses to be able to go and build these cities. And the people who are actually working for these companies don't even realize that they're actually paying themselves to go to work, and that they're having their credit files and national insurance accounts and treasury accounts laundered to the 10,000 times the amount that they're actually getting paid, keeping them in slavery while they're actually multi-millionaires in that system, multi-millionaires in slavery, because that's what we've been credited. So when we became secured party, because of that debt that has been accumulated over these years, and we said, right, okay, well, we're accepting one rock, planet Earth, and everything that she represents, just like you guys did in 1934 for the final time, or for that time, and then launder it again. So we used the same code that they used to say that the restoration of rights of the creditors can be peacefully restored as long as the collateral has been peacefully surrendered by the creditors, which is you. So you've been peacefully surrendering your collateral to credit the legal fiction and giving it to them, like we talked about before, so I don't need to go over that. Now, when we become secured party, if you read the filing, what does it say? All titles, all legal fictions, all registrations, blah, blah, blah. You can read it yourself. It's filed in the Securities Exchange Commission for everyone to see. And that, when we saw that the Government UK Limited, who is actually, it's a dormant company, it's just an empty credit file, but it's what it represents. And it, first of all, before we get into what asset is it got and all of that, first of all, there it is. It represents your belief. Some people believe that it means something. Some people believe that it doesn't. Some people believe that it's a good thing if it was struck off. Some people believe that it's not a good thing if it's struck off. The point is, it's laundering your belief. You still believe in it. You still believe that it's got some value, it represents something, and it's there in Companies House, so it must be true. It's got a registration number. I know, by the way, one of their directors or significant persons with significant control is Lord Coutts. Well, Lord Coutts, Lord Coutts is Coutts Bank. Who's Coutts Bank? Queen of England's bank. What do they want to do? They want to dissolve themselves and strike themselves off the register. Now, normally a company, it wouldn't matter. I'm a dormant company. Why would I do that? So was it there to divide us all up between the woke and the unwoke, or I'm more woke than you, or I'm awake and you're not, and you don't know what's going on? And I think that that's what it was there to do, to split the people who have got to that level. Now they were all arguing between themselves about whether it was significant or not, whether it should be allowed to be struck off or not. And so it was still creating the old time winner of every war, divide and rule. So there you go, stick it all in a big packet. It is inside Companies House. Companies House is inside, it was created by Crown Corporation, HM Government. Who's secured party creditors to that? We are. We're not unsecured in the mind now, giving it any value. It's bullshit, and we know it. Here's a piece of paper to say that you can't continue executing any orders inside any system whatsoever that we are aware of, because by your legal code and commercial code and your due process and your legal system, a secured party creditor has the jurisdiction to be able to object, does it not, to a striking off. A secured party creditor has the right, does it not, to restore its rights to the collateral that it was secured on. They wrote this, not us. Now we want them to turn around and say, you can't do this, this is illegal, or allow a company, let's say a revolving credit facility, a legal fiction, to be struck off, even though it was secured. Because if it had been allowed to be struck off and that the secured party creditor standing that they've given the jurisdiction definition to didn't have any standing in their system, they would have made themselves obsolete with a snap of the finger. And I was hoping that that's what they would do, that they would say, no, your secured party credit filing inside the UCC hasn't got any grounds. I wanted them to do that, but they didn't. They said, oh yes, we accept your evidence, and so we've suspended the striking off. So either way we win, and I've said this to people, all you need to do is put yourself out there. Either way you are covered, because you're standing in universal law, you're not breaking it. You're saying, okay, if this is true, we've got it covered with the secured party creditors to it all instead of the unsecured creditors to it all. That's it. And your definition of secured party creditor, correct me if I'm wrong, you took the planet and its resources and said that there was a debt and there was this code, UCC 9609-9610, that said if the collateral was peacefully surrendered, there was no court order required. Did you not? Is it not legal? Yes, it is. But we're not saying legal is lawful because it breaks the law. We're not claiming that it's lawful. We're just saying, here's your legal system back at you. And really what's going on is under non-disclosure, and we're not obliged, or we can't tell you anything because you don't exist. So who did this to you? Canenus. Who's Canenus? He's Odysseus, who blinded the Cyclops. I mean, people don't get that. Like, oh, Canenus. Ooh, Canenus. Canenus is nobody. And if you read the document, it says, tell them that nobody did this. There is no body in your system anymore. There is no entity who is going to breathe life by bringing their body into your system and giving it the universal source energy that it requires in order for it to exist. We have stopped creating fiction. We took the fiction to the truth instead of taking our truth to the fiction. And all these people running around going, I'm going to go and tell them the truth, that I know the truth about this. I did it myself. I'm going to go in the court. And what we actually did is we shut the courts down. If you read about Socrates, they took him to court. They said, right, come to the court because of what you've been saying. He came to the court and said, right, tell us what we want to hear. And he said, no, I can't tell you what you want to hear. You're a patty, you're fraud, you're fraud, you're fraud, it's fraud, it's fraud, it's fraud. So they killed him. But he would rather die than say, and they gave him a way out. And they said, look, come on, just say these things and you can live. And he said, this is not a life. I live a lie. Do we all look at what we've been doing, living a lie? And this lie, this thing that never existed, was the hypothesis of the presumption that commerce could be committed on not just your right, my right, everybody's rights. And that's why we've got the position where we are now, where everybody's on lockdown because you don't know what your rights are. You believe you're a legal fiction, so you believe that that's your name. You believe that you can be charged for something that is under legislation, acts and statutes because it's legal. Ask the question, is it lawful? We've just had a conversation tonight with a policeman who has called us, who has come across, these are his words, come across Minister Emoven in an unregistered vehicle. Okay, so first of all, of course can't be a vehicle because it's not registered, is it? Can only be a vehicle if it's registered. You just said it's not registered, so it can't be a vehicle. You mean that you've come across a Minister Emoven conveying himself in a conveyance, and you want to know what? How can I help you? What is it you want? Well, I want to know, has he got a driving license? Is he in commerce? Oh, you've lost me there. What is commerce? I'm going to actually upload the video. What do you mean commerce? Was there anybody giving him reward? Was he for reward hire or game? Was there anybody paying him to be there? No. Okay. So, very sorry to inform you that it's actually you who's breaking the law. I know you think you're upholding it, but you're trying to coerce, you're trying to enforce commercial intercourse. You're trying to coerce somebody to commit fraud. You've just told me that there was no commerce being committed because nobody was paying him to be there, and he won't use the legal fiction name because he's giving it back to the people who created it, and he's reserved all his rights in doing so. So at that point there, he's like, well we can't really do, we're at a loose end and we don't know what to do. Bloody right, you're at a loose end and you don't know what to do. So I will make you an offer of settlement, provide me with the proof of claim, and I will disclose the relevant information regarding that. Prove that somebody was in commerce and the information will be released. Until you can prove that claim, it's actually you who's looking at 7 years for impersonating a police officer. You're looking at 7 years for operating and supporting a slavery system, and you're looking at 7 years for statutory rape. Statutory rape, you're trying to rape that individual of his rights. Oh, well, I'm going to have to go and speak to my superintendent and chief constable and my sergeant. Okay, off you go.
Hello, people.
No, you haven't.
Oh, no.
Okay, so we're recording this for some training. We're just going
Yeah, brilliant.
we're just going through this, and really, we were just talking about the company's house and how, as secured party creditor to all of that, they actually gave us the receipt then. That, well, I didn't even want them to say that. I wanted them to say, no, secured party creditors have got no standing. It isn't legal what you've done. It's got no value to it, because do you know what would happen? They would have done the job for us. All of those secured party creditors who think that they're secured, the banks, the mortgage lenders, the electricity companies, the car companies, the brokers, the credit file brokers, all of them would have just come smashing down, and instead we're going to have to go through them individually and do it one by one.
Yeah.
Or
Sorry, Lisa, you asked me to look up an LEI number.
I'll just finish what I was saying.
Oh, sorry, sweetheart.
Or what we do is we go in straight in, and because company's house is registered. Now, the fact that HM government is registered inside the Securities Exchange Commission in Washington, it means that it's obliged to perform under the UCC. Now, the people, it's all in your hands now. You are obliged under universal law to restore your rights as creditors and to stop this parasiting of your minds in your communities and create your own People's Protection Patrol. You don't use common law, because obviously that's all in the same jurisdiction of the ecclesiastical that comes under the House of Lords, the barons, the feudal lords, the Templar Knights, and off you go back into that shitstream again. You stand outside of that and you protect and reserve the rights of the people in your community, so that the police who are there at the moment can see how it should be done. And yes, okay, we do have to inconvenience ourselves. It's going to take 72 hours. Up to 72 hours is all that they can keep you without knowing who you are and laying a claim against you anyway. They can put you in the court and then try, this is what we want them to do, put them in what court? You haven't got a court. Your courts are secured. So what the most that they can do is inconvenience you for 72 hours. So assign your VIN numbers into the trust. Put your private plates on there. You are covered with your indemnity of your share of this rock, which is why it's kindness credits and not something else. And it's why we use rocks in our exchanges, because it's your share of that has stood surety to all of this legal fiction system that is just dissolved in front of your eyes. Take your antidote spray and spray the people with it who come into your business. Put a COVID clean sticker in your window. Rebut the presumption. Let them come with their vaccine and say, thank you very much, but I've already been given something and it's altered my DNA. So you can't stand there and presume my DNA anymore, because you don't know what I've had, do you? And if by your own crazy logic, somebody can come along with some unknown substance and jab it in you, then I can stick this in you, right? Rebut it, because it is your own mind that is manifesting these agents to come to you to help you practice. Have you got this bit yet of ministering your own mind? Or do you need a little bit more practice? Oh shit, oh no, here's my ID. Let me go, let me have my convenient slavery shit instead. No. If this is what it is, I mean, this is, in prison, you go in prison and you're laughing because, the guys are on the other side and you're like, do you know what, at least I know I'm a prisoner in here and I'm not paying. I know that you can't take anything out of my credit file, so your company's about to suffer massive loss. And by keeping me here, I'm on my jolly holidays. I've got paid for board and lodgings, and I know that every day that I'm in here, I'm going to cost you 1,100 euros or pounds. And that at the end of the 90 days, if they have been able to keep you that long, well, they work it out. And they go to the Securities Exchange Commission and they try to get the money out. There's nothing there. Why? Because you never contracted with the name. And Minister Emoven doesn't exist in their system. So they can't launder something that they haven't got the right of use of, have they? Just like you can't use something you haven't got the right of use of, which is your legal fiction. They can't use Minister Emoven because it's not their legal fiction, it's yours. And you've got the right of use of it to use it right. So, Karen, are we doing the right thing, disclosing information on here about that before we do it? Oh, she's not there. Hey there, Minister Emoven.
Sorry, I was doing my stuffing.
Oh, guys.
Important things.
Getting it ready for that police constable.
Yeah, the nice one. Sorry, what did you say, Lisa, darling?
I said, are we doing the right thing, disclosing information about something we haven't done yet?
No.
Right. Let's keep it under non-disclosure then until we've got it.
All right, lovey.
Out of the way, love. And this, we were talking about this earlier on. You are putting your head above the parapet, and so just show due diligence about, a bit of discretion. Facebook, I mean, Minister Emoven on Facebook, and the legal fiction that I use on there has been given back to them. The ID that's been used is expired. They've got all rights reserved has been served, and they know that it's been assigned to a trust. So it's only when some idiot comes along with half a story and then puts it up on YouTube and tries to incriminate somebody in it. That's why it needed to be squared away, using that Elizabeth did this, Elizabeth did this. Who the fuck's Elizabeth is the answer to that. The legal fiction, it can't do anything. It was the creditor of Minister Emoven who did that. And there was many of us. Because we're all Minister Emoven, which is who Canonis is. We are all Canonis. It means nobody. And that's what I hadn't finished the story. When Odysseus blinded the Cyclops, which represents the all-seeing eye, who wanted to eat him, as he disguised himself as a sheep and escaped out of the cave after many of his men had been eaten, he blinded the Cyclops in the eye, and the Cyclops is screaming, "Who did this to me? Who did this to me?" And Canonis said, and Odysseus said, "Canonis did this to you. Go and tell your family and friends that Canonis did this." So the Cyclops went looking for nobody. So the last thing we want in the name of support or resistance is people trying to incriminate other people by saying, she did this and he did that, and that's their legal fiction. Prove your claim. Has anybody had any evidence that it was Elizabeth Knowlson, whoever she is, that filed any of those documents at all? No. Except some halfwit coming along and saying, it was there, it must be true, it's on Facebook. Really? So if I used Mickey Mouse on Facebook, then would it be Mickey Mouse that did it? And that's the beauty of Minister Emoven. It keeps and reserves all of your rights. So even when some muppet does pop up, then you still haven't incriminated yourself. And it's that instead of us assuming the title, then presuming the title without that right of use, pick up something that you have got the right of use of. That's me, and me, Minister Emoven. And me is you, and you are me, and all of that. Because we're one, aren't we? Even our stupid bits. So we love you very dearly, or, creditor of the legal fiction, beep, and we'd reserve your rights as well, whoever you are. And whatever you've done, all debts are settled. That's the wonderful thing. If people can get that in their minds now, what does that mean? It means every bloody thing that you've ever done it's not even forgiven. It's just settled. It didn't matter. All of the things that we walked around with, guilt and fear and hate and hostility, and I do want to punch Dijon in the face, but you know, there's a day for that apparently. So tomorrow. But you know, even that, it would be done. You know, even all that that's gone on, it doesn't matter, because you just put your trust in universal law. This was all supposed to happen for a reason. And even while you're in the middle of it and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we put our trust in there again. Hang on a minute, where have you put your trust? Put it in universal law. Take a big breath. Everything's fine. Why? Because I trust in universal law. So even when it looks like shit, you still come up smelling like roses. And we've got a lovely garden full of lovely roses all popping up in the form of all you people that have taken it upon themselves to do something, even if it's to come on this call or look on a website or, you know, share an opinion. We're not doing opinions anymore. The truth is out there. The evidence is out there. When people say it's got no teeth to it, that thing, you're right, it hasn't got any teeth because it's fiction. I don't need any teeth, obviously. That's why mine have all fallen out. So, has anybody got any questions before I do some chasing up of one of our assets that's gone AWOL? Anybody?
No, I'm happy.
Cool. Is anybody stuck on anything apart from the obvious that I know about? No. Okay. Well, we'll call it a lovely evening then, and I'll call you in a minute, Minister Emoven, and we'll go through the things about all this current situation. Okay.
Okay.
Morphic resonance, I meant, sorry.
I thought so.
And in the meantime, we'll do the call on Sunday. And thank you, by the way, for all of your lovely messages about me being sick. It was a massive cleansing, an absolute purge. It was of all of the liabilities, I suppose, all the negativity that I've been holding liability for these last 5 years, and it's just gone, and I can't even begin to try to explain how that feels. It really has been
Amazing times.
liberating, absolutely liberating. You know, all of that, so much anger that I had, so that I realised, and I was holding it actually in my face, and you know, I hate the word resentment, but it was there, to the system and about what they were doing, and it was, unfortunately, it started to aim it at the people, because it was, you know, this is me bearing my liabilities now, but I was aiming it at the people, because it was like, I can't make it any more simple for you, and you're still doing it. You know, you're still going there and doing it, and that, obviously, I needed to practice that to get to the point where it didn't really matter what these people did, as long as it didn't let it affect the way that I responded to it. And so, you know, I thank Dijon for that. I sincerely, for what he put forward for us all to practice. And it really hammered it home about the importance of the rock. So, you know, I don't really want to punch him in the face. The rock and stuff. No, I'm kidding. I don't. I feel complete nothing but love for the guy, and you know, and I hope that he's listening to this at some point, and knows, and that goes for all of them. But you know, all of them that have said that we were a fraud, or you know, that we've ripped people off, or all the negativity, and even the agents of presumption and assumption, who, you know, last week I could have stood up against a wall and happily shot. And that's all gone. So we don't need to feed that frequency, and I'm reserving my rights from doing it. Don't even have to reserve it, it's just gone. And it was, and in the physical form, it was complete pain all in my crown, across my head, across my face, being sick, couldn't breathe, just my eyes and nose were streaming. And if anybody had looked at me, they would have said, oh, I've got coronavirus, which is so ironic.
Antidote doesn't work.
Actually, it did. It was the only thing. My throat was all shut, and I sprayed the antidote down the back of my throat and I could speak. But it took all of my knowledge, the natural remedies, the white willow bark, morphic resonance gave me a very great tip about boiling lemon skins and grapefruit, and that really helped. And the love from the people that I got, because you can start to feel like, taking the piss this lot, and you all came through and sent me lots of support, and I got my 5 hours back that way. So I knew it wasn't all for naught, and but the irony was that it gone up into the mountain and spoke all this. I left that ear into the spiral above our heads, because it was just 2 planets, and we got up there, it's like a spiral of the universe above us. And we were just like, wow. And Yorgos, he was standing there shaking. I'm like, are you cold? And he's like, no, I just can't stop shaking. And when we came back down, Minister Emoven notified me of this receipt. And I was just like, whoa. And that was it. Then, finished. The minute that I got that, suddenly I couldn't stop sneezing. We were laughing and sneezing. And then laughing because we were sneezing and shouting coronavirus and stuff at each other. And then I was laid up, couldn't move. And so as I had that time to reflect on what it was that this physical experience was reflecting, and it was all of that. And so I got up, and everything's gone. It's the debt and all the liabilities that I've been holding for all of this. And and I think that's reflected in everybody. The response has been massive. People coming and doing webinars with us, and putting it out there. There's one I've just posted it.
Oh yeah, sorry.
A couple of guys, yeah, really lovely guys, trying to explain how there's maybe a way to be debt free, looking at different aspects, and they were really enthusiastic, and one of them is going to go through the steps, so just taking him through that so he can speak from first-hand experience with it and document it. And
did you see observation decks?
That's
video?
what I was talking about. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Somebody coming with half an understanding and trying to incriminate people in their enthusiasm. Okay, it's their enthusiasm, but the only thing that I never saw eye to eye with Robert Lamont about was, or the creditor of the legal fiction, Robert Lamont, let's say, was when he came on the Zoom room and congratulated me for the presentation about the birth certificate, and then said, I'm going to hijack it. I said, hang on a minute. If you enjoyed something so much, why don't you, and you're speaking from the truth is that you went on this Emoven channel and you watched this presentation. Why would you want to take it and add something or take something away and make it yours? I said, there's intellectual property rights on that. And he said, I don't think you invented the birth certificate. I said, no, but I created the way of presenting it so that people could comprehend it and make themselves free of it. Why don't you just point them over there? What are you scared of? In the fear of loss, you see, in the fear that give the credit where the credit is due, and it will always come back to you. Always.
Yeah.
So,
And one more question. The gamma training that he was going to do.
Yeah.
When will we find some time in the new year to do it?
Of course I will. I'd love to do that. What I need really is a stable internet to do that, because if I put my video on, it stays for about 40 minutes and then it started to drop off. So we could do it really early in the call, or just do one specific one for about an hour. See if we can get half an hour out of it for with the video on, because that's we need it for the tapping to, you know, to show you where to tap yourselves.
Okay.
There is a video of that actually. Dijon's got it. You can ask him if he can put that up kindly as soon as I downloaded them all.
I get ignored by everyone now for some reason.
Oh, well, maybe he's going to listen to this at some point, and you know, and realise that any charge that he thought he'd made, and that, you know, perhaps I'd laid against him, which was also my fault as well, for responding like I did to him. Then, you know, maybe he'll realise that it's he didn't have anything to fear, because nobody can't usurp universal law, can you?
No.
I can't. So maybe it could have been remedied a little bit better with a little bit more of our kindness crediting it. So we'll see what happens. If he is of the vibration that I see in everyone, and that's what I put my trust in, that he is that, and if he becomes aware of that, then hopefully he won't feel the need to isolate himself. You know, just put all the debts are settled. That's it, including the one we created. Including the one we all created, you know, because we're all the same thing. And if we just get that, I mean, the amount of love that I've got for him is overcomes all of that, you know. It makes other people jealous, in fact, and it's not for all of you, you know. And it doesn't matter even if I haven't met you yet. That's what it is that we're talking about. But I don't need to know you. You just, you know, you're part of me, and I'm part of you, and that's it. And so it's not your children they're coming for. They're coming for our assets. Well, this is what I wanted to talk about the schools. The schools have been obviously poisoning our children's minds forever, and now they're poisoning them physically as well as mentally, with this hand sanitizer. One of the Minister Emovens was teaching at a particular school and academy, and because she turned around and said there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be coerced or to commit harm or damage or loss to anybody, including, most importantly, children that have been put in my care, the school have come down and tried to dismiss her. And we've been going through this process. It's got to the point where they've even lied about their own investigation into this in writing, and put them on notice that they haven't got a license anymore, because the license that they had came from HM government, and we've revoked all licenses and they're all secured. And due to the fact that what we've seen and the evidence, and that their blatant ignoring of the facts regarding the health and safety and the product descriptions of the contents of this stuff that they're actually putting on the children, and not to mention the fact, obviously, they're suffocating them and breathing in their own debris when they're wearing these masks. They are not fit for purpose, and by our definition as a community of what education is and the standards of health and safety, they don't meet the requirements, and therefore they're not fit for purpose, so that their license is revoked. Now, we're going to actually target this area strongly in the new year, because of obviously the implications, and also they're our assets. Those children are our assets, and they're the future, and that's why they're doing what they're doing to them, and that's why it's imperative that we secure these schools. So, you know, indoctrination stations is really a better word for them. And that means going and educating the community that is sending the children to those schools about parentis, locus parentis, and the fact that you hand all of your rights away, giving out leaflets and brochures. Now, when I sent that notice to the school, I think 3 or 4 hours later, they got up from the mainstream, what do you call it, hype wagon, propaganda wheel, and said that all schools are going to be closed. Did you see that?
Yeah.
In the new year.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything we do, this is a spell. That the birth certificate created a spell. That's why we're taught spelling in a Babylonian bollocks language, where to put a comma, by whose definition. And it does matter it creates matter. Our intention, our belief, our what they write, what we write. And every time we write something, it becomes true. Why does it? And it becomes reality. And okay, so I write these documents, and this is my reality, and this is why I wanted to share it with you, because I found that if I did this and this and this, that happened. So, and if I didn't do that and that and that, those awful things that I thought if I did do that couldn't happen. And it is as simple as that. So don't overthink the process. So, and put your words down on paper. And, it's your intent. I told you about getting that evidence of life form stamped by the doctor. And it was like somebody had just unplugged my crown. And I'm outside, the energy's soaring through me, and I just feel completely different. And it's not like the colours change or anything like that. Suddenly you're like, whoa, the bloody hell is this that I'm part of? But not in the degree like, we know it's really shit. And it's like, you take the responsibility back, because suddenly a part of you that's been suppressed by this spell that has suppressed you all your life, and the thing that you came to be, and the language that you use has suppressed your ability to create. Suddenly that's gone. And you're like, whoa, I speak these feelings and thoughts into matter. Then only you can be responsible for the experience that you have. And so, in one way it's quite daunting, because you're like, shit, I've got nobody to blame now except myself. Like I've just done with Dijon. Because it's ourselves that are doing it to ourselves. And when you take a step back and you look and you say, well, how did all this happen? We were claiming against ourselves. We were making a claim against ourselves and saying that I didn't do this to myself. Somebody else did this. Somebody else is doing this to me. It's not me doing this. And we can all do that, as we pour the drink down our throats or take the drugs, or it's all your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault all around you. No, it's my fault. If I have a thought or a feeling that I allow myself to take action that is negative to my whole being and my family and my community, and I don't give a shit because I just don't want to think about it anymore, then what have I done? I've given up my responsibility of my creational potential. My creational potential, is that such? Okay, yeah, there is creational potential. And it's not even that. When you start to learn Greek, it makes you realise what bollocks you've actually been talking into being. And, but the more you try to not try to learn in this particular language, the more difficult it becomes, because it's like, you don't want to speak English in the end, because English is the language of commerce. And now that everything you say isn't actually hitting that vibrational field. Speaking, where's that? I'm speaking from where? I'm speaking from the back of my mouth. When you say melau, that means I'm speaking. Logo is the word for horse. It means without words. Logo, logic, all of those things, we've missed out so much. And so if we ever were to try to imply that a child needed any education, it's the children that need to educate us. We've lost it. Their abilities, their freedom of expression, their innocence. Let them teach us, not the other way around. We only do the same damage that we've been inflicting ourselves with onto them. And so it goes again and again and again, and harvesting that universal source energy in this recycling system of laundering it in that same level of awareness, which we know jack shit. Well, okay. Or if we don't know, we look at our education and we then look at a website like Universal Law, I can't understand that, but I'm going to send my children to the same school that I went to so that they're not going to be able to understand it either. So they can replace me because that's the way it is, because that's what I did, and and that's because my dad and mum did it too, so it must be true. I can't think of anything else because I don't want to, because it's too scary, too whatever. I've got a reason why, and I've sold myself that concept. So I'm just going to be a facilitator of somebody else's projection, of somebody else's definitions. And can't say I'm wrong. I'd rather be wrong doing the right thing than right doing the wrong thing. Whereas before I was very happy to be right doing the wrong thing. And if we all just look at that in the next, whenever, all the time, am I right doing, do I feel right thinking this thought? Do I feel right walking past that being that hasn't got anything when I know all that I know, and I know that if I trust in universal law, if I get a hold of that other being by the hand, the universe will open up a door because of my kindness that I credited into the universe. And there's a door open there in that frequency. Or there's a door open in that frequency over there where if I walk past that being and don't do anything, I'm then going to feel guilty about it, and I'm going to think, no, or I'm going to try and shut it out, or I'm going to go and get pissed because there's nothing, I feel helpless. Well, those are the doors that I chose to open. Or those are the doors that I projected into being because I thought that that's all I could do. No, I can put my trust in universal law and grab that being and say, come on, just come on. Well, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that I can't leave you over there because you're a part of me. And I know by picking up the parts of me and putting myself back to piece by piece in the parts that this thing that we've been doing, which is dividing ourselves into pieces, has allowed ourselves to become so isolated and separated from ourselves and disconnected. That's how we've ended up like splintered pixels vibrating to a frequency of fear and hate, creating a picture that comes from that. Pick up our pieces. These are, this is my definition, if you want to call it Ubuntu. When you say, how can I enjoy having what I've got, knowing that there's others without? What are they without? They're without you. They're without your care and consideration and kindness and depth of love. Grab hold of that other being. Put yourself out there in the community. Everybody say, oh, I feel stupid giving somebody else a rock. You've got nothing else of any value worth giving. Go and stand out there in the street and sing and dance and, go and knock on their doors and say, come on. I haven't had a mask on for 12 months nearly now, and I'm alive. Take the piss out of it. For the ones that are like, oh no, I'm waiting for the vaccine. It's here. Got the vaccine. Do you want some of this, or do you want it in a spray? It's completely natural to go and what is the antidote to fear and hate? Love and kindness. That's it. So spread a little bit of that, and this is all done, because it's only our fear and hate, or fear, or you know, resistance. It's our resistance to resonate with one another and ourselves that is causing this universe, of our little bit inside this universe, let's say, to appear like it does. And the minute that we realise that it's us and our output and our, you know, what we put out there as a projection comes back and appears real. Okay, I'm putting out that, you know, everything. I'm putting out everything that I don't know. I know what that looks like, and I don't like it. And I now know that by me investing my energy into it. I just sat here last night and today on the beach, swimming in the sea, and it was like, I said, right, now what? Now what? Just be. That's what. Amongst this amazing thing that we've all consciously created for us to experience. What is that? Our ability to create. We can create and compound matter so that they appear to look like rocks. For Christ's sake, whatever that is. If we can do that, which we can clearly, because it's here and it's looking at us, then, you know, what else can we make matter? Look what we've taken, made matter into matter. That's what I say to people. We make matter matter. If somebody's an arsehole to you, like, you know, what I was just talking about, and I made it into matter, I made it matter. I really didn't matter. And it doesn't matter. But the matter that we created got us to the place where we can say, sincerely, with every single one of ourselves, it really doesn't matter, because I'm choosing love and kindness over and above anything else. And that is what you've put your trust in. And that's what kindness credit represents. I trust and I fund and I credit kindness. And I'm not passing my fear and hate, because I haven't got any, onto you by using the slave token. So back to the schools. Let's go and secure the schools and put them up, do the restoration rights notice on all schools. But the most important thing obviously is educating parents, and that can only be done by getting this information out there. And so, you know, it gets us back to going and making ourselves feel stupid. You might feel stupid as you're doing it, but I tell you what, when you open your mouth and you say and you speak, the mantra that really helps me is by the force, by the power of universal law vested in me, I shall not commit fraud upon my soul. And I am complicit in committing fraud, allowing or facilitating or being complicit in you committing fraud upon your soul. Because we'll share that same soul. It's not 7.8 billion souls. It's one soul split into 7.8 billion bits of information. So, you know, I'd rather call it inconvenience and, you know, go out in the freezing cold and wet and dance in the street and see them all looking out the window at me and to make them start to think, why the hell is she not wearing a mask? Or why the hell haven't the police given her a fine? Or why the hell, what is she even doing here? She doesn't even speak Greek. You know, can you imagine with all this information standing there in front of all of these people and not even being able to express what it is that you've got to share with them? How, you know, it's so, it has been, but instead I showed them. I couldn't speak, I couldn't tell you. All I could do was I mean, in a language that they don't understand you in, and standing there with this, and like, I mean, it's frustrating enough speaking to people who understand English and they're not understanding it, because at least you can think that you've expressed what it was that you wanted to say. But standing there and my God, I wanted to tell you about the birth certificate fraud and open your business, and I can't even go to the words. So I did it instead, just open the shop, and that was it. I'm like, hang on a minute. The hell is she doing? Oh, it's because she's English. No, it's not. Oh, it's because she's secret police. No, they found out it's not. Oh, she's a police informant. No, she's not. They won't lock their own police informants up, would they? Unless maybe they might say that it was for part of the show. I don't know. I don't care what it is that people say, and nor should you, about anything that anybody's got to say. Opinions don't matter anymore. It's what you do that counts. Let's just do it. And if you fall down and you feel a bit stupid, oh, well, you know, they're laughing at you. Laugh at yourself. Yeah. I thought I, you know, if I thought about myself doing these things 10 years ago, I would have said, absolutely no way would I have done this. Because I was up my own arse, to be honest. Like the rest of us, you know, we've got this image, and we have to, you know, this is me, and
Yeah.
I would never come on Zoom room with my hair all over the place, and I'd never sit in the back of the van and be a Professor Denari, or, you know, I'd never open a shop in the middle of a police state and ask them, where's your fucking contract? Because why would I? I have a very comfortable life. I didn't have to put myself out there. And you know, all I can say is go and get an evidence of life form, go and give that birth certificate back, and suddenly you become something else. Something that nobody can put a charge against except you. And that is really my definition of freedom.
Brilliant.
Cool. So, has everybody enjoyed that lovely Christmas ramble? Batting the ball out of existence, let's hope. And I don't mean because it's real. The ball's not real. It just, you know, this is what they're doing now. Oh, the ball, it's the ball. I mean, have you seen the Vatican thingy? Have you seen the, what you call it, the astronaut and the executioner?
Oh, yeah, that's awful.
I think it's very funny. I think it's beautiful that they're going to come and execute you. The spacemen have come to execute you. The executioners look like lizards inside their little spacesuit thing, helmet thing. Baby Jesus looks like the Tower of Babylon to me, the poor thing. And then we've got ISIS. It's like, you know, all you need to say to that is, look, the only people that you're kidding are yourselves. There is no fat guy coming down your chimney. There is no, you know, scary thing hiding in the woods, waiting for you. There is no scary monster who has got any right to infiltrate your mind unless you give it the door to do so. That's it.
Yeah.
And then I saw the Pope had retired. Do you think that was because he didn't like the baby Jesus anymore?
The Pope is retired.
I saw somebody had put the Pope's retired, and I thought maybe it was because he didn't like the executioner. He wanted to be me. Maybe that was it. He wanted to be the executioner, and they put a lizard there instead.
Yeah.
I mean, all of this, the lizard things, the execution, put them all in the same pot as the slave token, and that is real, and that's your name. They put it all in there. All of it is man-made. That's it. Park everything that's man-made in the pot, label it man-made, shut the lid on it, and go, right, okay, I'm not a man. I'm a energy. I'm a thing. I'm an indefinable thing, and I'm going to define indefinable things. And I can't do that if we've already been defined by man-made definition, can I? I'm just buying somebody else's definition of what is.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was doing the other night. You know, take away all of those things that, oh, that's Saturn, that's Venus, that's the South, that's the West. I just stand there in the middle of whatever that is, and suddenly something else appears. A feeling, an experience. There's no words. I haven't got any words. So if I haven't got any
Yeah.
words, I better go and sign off. Maybe this is the last Zoom if I haven't got any more words. Oh no, I'm going to do it in Greek on Saturday, tomorrow. We're going to do a Greek one. Now you guys are up and you've got the people who are scattered around who've got a level of awareness of all of this and the ability to be able to, you know, stand on their rights and put it out there. Well, we can do it for the people here. Give them the some of what you guys have had now, because they need it. You know, they're completely bought into capitalism and euros and the church, and so we're just loosening that anchor, let's say, to that vessel, and saying, look, here you go, guys. No excuses now. It's not because she's English, because she turns out she's not. Because these people are doing it, and these people are doing it. I had a lovely surprise. Did I tell you that I'd made, I hadn't laminated these restoration of rights and COVID clean and the immunity record certificates for these shops. And I went today, and there it is in the window. I said, because they'd gone in and sprayed them on the other day before I was ill. And today when I went down there, they were all like, how are you and all of this? And I'm like, I'm fine, but I'm even better now because these shops have got COVID clean in the windows, and they're drinking coffee at all without a plastic cup. Here it's forbidden because you have to be going out. You can't sit at the tables. And when I looked in, oh, they're all sat around the tables. They've all got their masks off. It was just like normal. It was lovely.
Wow.
Yeah, really lovely. Really, really lovely. And I said, I'm giving you this instead of a Christmas card. And so they put it in the window, and it was the confidence that they needed. Was it?
Yeah. And are they the police officers? Are they doing anything?
Police officers.
Pardon?
Tell me again.
No, I'm saying now with the shops and the COVID signs up and
the place is empty. We drove around last night and we just said, you know what, it could do anything out here, you know, to the structure of the system of an event, but you know, you don't need to really. It's like the thing with the 5G. Everybody's asking about 5G. It is a part of you. Use it. Change your frequency and go and transmit into them. Transmit what you want to project out there. If it is projecting images, it is only their man-made version of what it is that you, as the universal creator of all of this, have got the ability to do.
yeah.
So, no, the police, we haven't seen them. I live opposite the police station. I just laughed as I walked up the street because I'm actually looking down into their office from my bedroom window. Yeah. And, you know, they know. Why do they know? Because I've bothered to put myself out there. I've bothered to put, you know, all of this. I mean, it's a very, because Greece is such a big area, everybody is related to everybody, and so you do one thing somewhere and it goes, we don't need the internet because they've still got the connection with the family and
Yeah.
word of mouth. And so, you know, even if the police had started off like they were in June a bit, because they didn't know us, soon as they got the information come down from the where we'd had the incidents, let's say, and they were like, Bob, come pull your chair up and tell us about this then. And you know, I've had to, it's true what she says, because I've had to buy my own uniform. I've had to put bullets, tie the bullets. So
Wow.
you know, come on, guys. Yeah, but what about my house? What about my job? What about my pension? They've spent it. You haven't got a pension. You lunatics. Look what you've got: vaccinations, lockdowns. You know, they know that they have been supporting their own terrorism now, and so again, we've just got to treat them like we've got to treat energies like Dijon, for example, and it's with complete love, you know, where even though you've just tried to stuff my arms up my back and drag me around in your fingerprint room and I've thrown you at the wall, so and you know, at the end it's come back and they say, I'm sorry, Mrs. Minister. It's all right, my child, you're just doing what you thought was your job. I get it. And it's that, and you see this, the fear, because he was more fearful. This poor guy was more fearful of what he'd actually done to me, because these other people came down with all this paperwork, and the people from the village and the town who we'd actually gone to help, we were explaining to him, this guy we were helping was the ex-mayor. And so that he's explained what it is that we were doing in the bank. And so then they're like, oh my God, they were helping people. They're here to help us. But we're sorry. Okay, well, let's just go and even go and arrest the bastards that are doing it to us, is what I'd said. It's not even right. Go and, you know, let's create something all together that's nice for everybody, that's all. So I'm just looking here to see if we've had any response from the police policy enforcers who are currently under Minister Emoven training in Lancashire. No, I haven't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they've been put on notice that they need to provide the proof of claim of the commerce that was being committed. I talked about it a little bit before, but you might have been busy with the children. And I've not received anything as yet. So I'm sure Minister Emoven is, you know, you actually, I loved it. I mean, it might be, people might say that that's whatever the hell they like. They said that it was, what's the word where you like to cause yourself harm? Not suicidal.
Not a masochist.
Yeah, masochist. That it was masochistic, that, you know, you like getting arrested and stuff. And then one of the police putting the handcuffs at me and saying, "You like this, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." Actually, yeah, because it gives me an opportunity to I've got a captive audience. If I'm not going anywhere, you're not going anywhere, because you've got to stay here to keep me here. So bring my books, bring my, you know, let me get my books out, let me get my, do my webinars and seminars in the cell. And they're like, get her out of here in the end. Please get her out. And they're like, oh my God, haven't you had enough yet? No, come some more. Haven't you had enough yet? Why are you still trying to force me into commerce? You know you're not going to like it. You know you're not going to be able to do it. Why are you still trying to do that? Have you not learned enough yet? Okay, well, just call me and I'll come and have a chat with you.
Yeah.
You don't have to threaten me. And at this time, the judge had said, will you come and see us tomorrow in the court? Well, who will come? Who do you want? Well, you two, whoever you are. Yeah, us two, whoever we are. I'd love to come and see you and talk to you. about what is actually going on, and clearly the information hasn't got down to you. So, you know, we're here to share the information to everybody and then see where you stand. You don't have a foot in both camps. You choose your standing. This is where I stand. And I know, because I trust in universal law, that I'm standing in the right place. Otherwise, you know, I'll be moved. And so those people who are occupying, they're occupying the minds of the community, really, like the schools, for example. So it's not a case of us going in there and forcibly evicting them. They have been made obsolete. This system is obsolete. And so all of the people out there listening to this, if they just realize that if I do not create this, it's obsolete. And they're like, oh yeah, but what else is there? Wait and see. Sit there in complete anticipation. What is it? And you know, it's whatever you manifest for yourself. Oh, and I don't believe that. Well, okay, have a look around you. You manifest this shit, you can manifest something better than this. Right? So I'm looking forward to what's coming, especially now where with this energy that is all out there for us to experience and just tap into. So, you know, those 5G transmitters, tune them, take control of them, tune them. You know, go and create your own broadcast. Go and create your own transmission, and emanate it into the big blue, into the ether, because that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Just, you know, they're one step behind all the time, because we have to create it. That let's call it a reflection of ourselves. That reflection of ourselves can't be reflected until we've projected. And so when we take, because it's like, oh, they're projecting this onto us. You know, I've even used it myself to help people get into the level where we're at now. We are the ones charging ourselves. We are the ones projecting onto ourselves. And what we project, we see come back at us as an absolute replica of our own creation. So hone your thoughts, minister your mind, get a grip of what it is that you are not. That's it. I'm taking the antimatter away from the matter. I'm taking the thing that I haven't got any definition of, and I'm putting it somewhere else. I'm just not going to put it over there. I'm just going to give it back to the universe and say, all right, universe, I'm talking to myself, yes or no, little avatar, little Omicron over here, speaking to Omega. I've woken up now. Let's get out of Delta state and create a better alpha frequency of whatever it is that we are.
Nice.
So I'm off to do a bit of that now.
Yeah.
With, you know, somebody that I haven't appreciated, you know, it's all through this. I mean, it has been an absolute fucking battlefield, and it's, now I've got to this point and just look at him with completely different eyes, because I'm not looking at all of the blame and the lack of responsibility that I had, that I blamed somebody else for, and I've taken it all back, and I see it as, you know, part of me that you know, I want back. So gonna have a lovely time, everybody, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
Thanks, Liz.
Lots of love to you all.
Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome, if that's who I am.
Yeah, I'll create that universe.
I like Emmy, right? If anybody wants to call me anything, I like Emmy. I used that when I was in the prison.
Emmy.
Yeah, the girls couldn't pronounce Emoven, so they called me Emmy. They christened me that. And
I like oven.
Hey,
I like oven.
oven.
Hot.
Call you oven then. I'll be in the oven. Oh shit, we split it into two already. So let's catch up then on Sunday if anybody's around.
Yeah, I'll be around.
All right, cool.
Thanks, Emmy.
Lots of love. Speak to you later, guys.
Good night.
Good
Night.